This year for the Cask Report, I looked after the biggest piece of research we've ever done in the history of the Cask Report. It involved online surveys of cask drinkers, as well as focus groups in 4 locations up and down the country, talking to drinkers who were committed and people who were less enthusiastic and people who were lapsed drinkers or have never tried it. In addition, we did some licensee research and asked them about their real attitudes towards cask, both personally and professionally. And then we looked at as much research as we could gather from all over the industry, from people who've looked at cask before. When I've looked at cask research before, there seems to have been a disconnect between what people are saying about cask and their true behaviour, and I think we've uncovered why that is. There's an enormous wealth of fondness for cask ale. It's regarded as a British institution. If you talk to people who don't drink it, they say, well, a proper pub should have it, there should be old men at the bar drinking it, it should be served warm, into big foaming tankards, and you say, well, that all sounds great, are you going to drink it? And they say, no, I'm not, but that's what a proper pub should have. It's like going for a curry and thinking, well, I'm only going to have a mild curry because I don't like spicy curries, but if a Vindaloo isn't on the menu, it's not a proper curry house. It's not a proper pub if it doesn't have cask. So how do you get drinkers who feel that fondness for it to start drinking it more often, or even drinking it at all? The occasional or non-cask drinker is not interested in cellar conditioning. When we talk about reduction in gravity, we're genuinely confusing and alarming people as to what the hell we're talking about going on in a beer cellar. People are interested in benefits, not features. The whole kind of live, organic thing, if it means it's going to be better beer, if it means it's going to be more natural, if it means it's going to be better for me, if it means it's going to taste better, tell me that. You don't need to tell them the story about how we get there, and we really need to think about changing the definition of cask ale as we address it to consumers. It would be no surprise if I said that quality was the biggest issue facing cask ale at the moment. We all know that. But quality for the consumer is seen in quite a different way than it is for the industry. The Cask Report every year talks about proper cellar temperature, about glassware renovation, about line cleaning and so on. That's not what quality means to the consumer. For the consumer, for the drinker, quality is this kind of vicious cycle. They're not very aware of cask, they don't know very much about it. When they drink it occasionally, they get a pint. If they don't like it, they don't know enough to say if that pint is simply a taste that they don't like or whether there's something wrong with the pint. Therefore, they don't have confidence to take it back to the bar. So bad quality pints are a huge hidden problem. Only 40% of consumers complain if they think they get a bad quality pint, and that is only a fraction of the people who are unhappy with their pint but don't know why. And so they go, well, that was an interesting experiment, I'm going to stick with lager, or I'm going to get a gin and tonic, because at least you know where you are with that. So quality is linked to awareness and it's linked to knowledge. All three need to be tackled to solve that quality problem and encourage occasional drinkers to drink cask more often. Now, there are many different aspects to quality. One of the key ones that we found is temperature. Now, we all know that the recommended serving temperature for cask ale is between 11 and 13 degrees. The issue here is that our research says that the vast majority of drinkers, including cask loyalists, have a strong preference for it to be served cooler than that. Most people who drink cask across the board said that they would like it to be served between 6 and 10 degrees Celsius. Now, there are technical issues in the cellar that might make that problematic, but that's what drinkers are saying they want. And when we put that with other research at the temperature that cask is really being served at, the vast majority of cask ale is being served at the moment warmer than 13 degrees. That there is a huge problem, that 70% of drinkers want cask cooler than the recommended temperature, and 70% of pubs are serving it warmer than the recommended temperature. On to the dichotomy with licensees. The Cask Report has always told people what to do in terms of improving cask quality, and yet quality remains an issue. Why is this? Our research seemed to suggest that while licensees know what they should be doing with cask and will tell you that that's what they're doing, in reality it's a little bit different. We ask licensees how long a cask stays on sale for, they tell us 3 days. Vinet research shows that that's closer to 7 or 8 days. We ask people what temperature cask should be served at, they tell us 11 to 13 degrees, and research shows that in reality it's above 14. So what's going on here? This disconnect between what people say, because they know what they're supposed to say, and what's happening in reality. quality. We split the data several different ways to try and find it out. We found very little difference between, say, managed, tenanted and freeholds. We found little difference between the size of the turnover of the pub. The biggest difference was in the first question we asked, we said to licensees, before we get onto your pub, do you personally drink cask ale or not? Are you passionate about it? Are you neutral about it? Do you not really like it? And what we found was that when licensees said they personally were passionate about cask, the results were so much stronger. That was the biggest differentiator that we could find in terms of segmenting licensees. So it's not just enough to tell licensees what they should be doing. Make sure your temperature's like this, make sure your lines are clean. They know that, it's not going in. If you can make a licensee passionate about cask, if you can enthuse your bar staff, if you can kind of show them the joy of cask so that they personally develop an interest in it, then everything else follows. You don't need to bother with the rest of the training almost, because they will work it out and they will take genuine pride in serving a perfect pint of cask. When you look at a lot of the cask training that exists, it's about process, it's about learning the answers. I'm a qualified cellarman, which terrifies me because I wouldn't know what I'm doing, but I learned the answers for the test. Now it's a very different thing for someone to be able to learn the answers to a test so that they can pass it, and actually kind of instilling it and believing it and acting upon it. What we found when we did our research is that if we segmented licensees by those who say they personally, genuinely love cask ale versus those who drink it every now and again and those who don't actually like it, that's the biggest differentiator to the true quality of cask in an establishment. So instead of just telling people things, processes to learn by rote, if instead we focused on really trying to open people up to the beauty of cask so that they get personally enthused by it, so that they actually become passionate about it, that is the easiest way to train people. The rest of it will follow very naturally if you make people proud of it and passionate about it in the first place. So from weeks of research, we can distill it down to 4 key points. Firstly, there's a lot of latent affection for cask. We need to do more to turn that into action among drinkers. Secondly, temperature. If you want to sell more cask ale, serve it at the temperature the consumer wants to drink it at. Thirdly, when we talk about quality, quality is part of a triangle with awareness and knowledge. All 3 need to be improved simultaneously to make consumers feel that cask is more of a safe bet and not the risk it currently is. And finally, among staff, they know what the process is. They know what they're supposed to be saying. The big difference is if we can create passion and instill genuine love of cask, which makes all the process follow on from it.